Okay, this is APAB Calc. We're doing Intro to BC Calc, and this is Euler's method. So we're going to do example 3, which does require a calculator, right? So we're given f of 5 is 2. We're given that dy dx is a y on top of a 2x. And we are given that we want to find f of 4.7 in 3 equal steps, right? So the first thing we should probably do is figure out our step size, right? So the final value is the 4.7, the starting value is the 5, and I'm dividing by 3, so I end up getting a negative 0.1, which makes sense if you look at it, because your values should be getting smaller, right? So negative 0.1 or negative 0.1. So let's go ahead and make our Euler's table. So this is definitely going to require a calculator. I did this on my calculator when I made it for your example packet. You don't want to do this by hand, and that's totally fine, right? You shouldn't do it by hand. And then my new y is going to be my y old plus the slope times that negative 0.1, right? Okay, so I start at 5 and 2, and then since I'm using a step size of negative 0.1, it's going to be 4.9 next, and then 4.8, and then 4.7. So the other reason that you want a calculator here, in addition to the fact that the numbers are going to get ugly really fast, is that you're doing 3 rounds of Euler's instead of 2, which is, again, a lot of rounds to ask a person to do if this is a non-calculator question. But this isn't. This is a calculator question, so we're fine. So my first slope is easy enough for me to find by hand, right? It's going to be a 2 on top of a 10, so it's a 0.2, and that's pretty easy. Things are going to go downhill pretty quickly from this. So that means that my new y new, is going to be the old y, 2, plus a 0.2 times a negative 0.1, which is going to give me a 1.98. And you can use a calculator to find that. That's absolutely fine. Now, after this, it starts to go downhill quickly. And you'll see this on the paper. You're going to need to store numbers in your calculator. So this slope is going to be that 1.98 divided by 2 times 4.9. And it's going to end up being something that's kind of crazy looking. So it's going to end up being like a 0.202 and some stuff, which I'm going to store as A. I'm going to go ahead and call that A. I'm even going to use it as A in my formula. So my new y is going to be 1.98 plus the thing I stored as A times a negative 0.1, right? And what's going to end up happening is I'm going to end up getting that this is also an ugly number, 1.9597, and it keeps going. So I'm going to store that as B. Remember, you can't use a rounded version of something until you're done. The store button on your calculator, and you can actually see that this is the end of me doing the problem myself. The store button on your calculator is right here, right? It's right above the on. And you're going to store it as a letter, and you should note what letter. So now I called that B, so this is going to be my new y value. Well, that means my slope is going to be B divided by a 2 times 4.8, right, which I'm going to type in my calculator, and it's also going to give me something crazy. It's going to give me a 0.204 ... which I'm going to store as C. So now I have a B and a C that I'm going to need in my formula. So my new y, which will be my final answer, is the old y, which I stored as B, plus the C times that negative 0.1. And when I type all that stuff into my calculator, you can see I did it right there. I did B plus C times negative 0.1. And I end up getting that this answer right here in my table is approximately a 1.939. That's my approximate value for f of 4.7. So again, you're not doing that by hand, right? It's not, so you want to gauge whether a question is calculator or non-calculator. Euler's frequently shows up on non-calculator, and you're only asked to do 2 rounds of it with fairly simple steps.